Hello and welcome to Wednesday's programme.
Coming up tonight, a bereaved mother says the government has missed an opportunity with its new road safety strategy.
Questions are asked about how police in South Yorkshire managed to mix up the identities of two crash victims, one of whom died.
Weight loss warning: the problems arising from not exercising while you're taking fat loss jabs.
And we're chatting with the stars of Giant as the movie about Sheffield's Prince Nazim Hamed and Brendan Ingle has its premiere in Leicester Square.
First tonight to what's been hailed by some as the most ambitious plan in decades to save lives on our roads. But families who've lost loved ones in fatal accidents say it's a missed opportunity.
The government today revealed its road safety strategy, aiming to reduce deaths and serious injuries by 65% within the next 10 years. Among the plans are mandatory eye tests for older drivers and minimum learning periods for young ones.
But campaigners who've been calling for even tougher restrictions on new drivers say it doesn't go far enough. Lisa Adlam reports.
Jordana Goodwin was just 16 when the car she was a passenger in was involved in a terrible accident which killed her and 4 young friends in Conisbrough in South Yorkshire in 2014. The years since have, in her mother Vicky's words, been a living nightmare.
It's not only for me. My sons have dealt with grief that at such a young age that they should never have had to deal with.
They are years in which Vicky has campaigned tirelessly among young people to prevent further deaths. And she believes the government's new road strategy should include graduated driving licences for new drivers, imposing restrictions which may, in her daughter's case, have saved lives.
Being a newly qualified driver, if he wasn't allowed passengers, would he have been going to where he was going? Would he have made that journey on his own? So not only would Jordana still be here, the other 4 would still be here, including the driver. If there was a curfew, would they have been in that place at that time?
As West Yorkshire Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime, Alison Lowe is playing an integral part in driving the region's own strategy, Vision Zero, to prevent all road deaths and serious injuries by 2040. She also knows the impact of losing a loved one, her sister Debbie killed by a speeding lorry in Leeds in 1965, and says the government's new plans should be bolder.
New and young drivers are responsible for 49% of all killed and seriously injured on our roads in the United Kingdom. So they represent 6% of all driving licence holders and 24% of all those killed. The evidence is there. We need to act, and the leadership from government needs to be there.
The measures that we're proposing, a minimum learning period, we want to set up every young person to have a lifetime of safe driving. So we think that when they're learning to drive, they should experience driving after dark, driving in adverse weather conditions.
That minimum learning period for young drivers could be set at 3 or 6 months. Older motorists could also face mandatory eye tests over the age of 70. And it will consult on lowering the alcohol limit for driving, which has remained unchanged for almost 60 years.
We're very pleased to have a strategy. We've not had one for the last 10 years. So to have a government that's wanting to put road safety at the heart of what they do is something that we do wholeheartedly support.
The key areas of the strategy are now open to public consultation. In the meantime, Vicky says her work on road safety will go on as a lasting legacy to her daughter. Lisa Adlam, ITV News.
I wonder what you think about that story. I'm sure you'll let us know. And you can see more on this by heading to our website at itv.com/calendar.
Well, next, there's intense pressure on South Yorkshire Police tonight to explain just how officers wrongly led a family to believe that their teenage boy was alive and being treated in hospital for 3 weeks after a car crash, when in fact he'd been killed.
Following the crash in Rotherham, in which 2 teenagers died, the force also wrongly told one of the other families that their son had been killed, when in fact he was the one of those who'd survived.
Tonight, the local MP has described the mix-up as a mind-boggling error. Well, John Hill is with us now. And John, it's really a bewildering turn of events, isn't it, this?
It really is. So what happened was that in the early hours of the 13th of December, there was a serious car crash. A Toyota Corolla came off the road near Dinnington, Toddick Road in fact. A 17-year-old girl died in the crash. Now, it also claimed the life of another teenager, so a dreadful tragedy, whatever. But yesterday, 3 weeks after the crash, police admitted to an awful mix-up. They said they'd originally told the family of 17-year-old Trevor Wynne that he had died together with the girl of the same age. Separately, police believed another teenager who suffered serious injury in the crash and was under sedation in a hospital. They believed he was an 18-year-old called Joshua Johnson. But police now say that on Sunday just gone, so as I say, 3 weeks after the crash, new information, in their words, came to light which revealed it was in fact Trevor who was injured and Joshua who had died. So they'd told the wrong families that their sons had either survived or died. Just a terrible case of mistaken identity.
So, John, how on earth did this happen?
Police will not at this stage be drawn on their mistake. What they do say, though, is, as I said, Sunday information came to light which has now led to further formal identification processes, they say, including forensics, and it's that has exposed the mix-ups. Now, the local MP is asking for an urgent meeting with the police. He wants answers.
It completely boggles the mind, and we need to get to the bottom and get all these questions answered quickly. Now, look, I have an enormous amount of respect for all our police officers in South Yorkshire who do an incredible job in really difficult circumstances. But this, on the face of it at least, looks like a quite staggering error, which clearly would have caused immense harm and trauma to people involved.
Well, South Yorkshire Police have referred themselves to the official watchdog because they say they understand the trauma that the mix-up may cause. The Mayor of South Yorkshire, Oliver Coppard, he says he's spoken to the Chief Constable. He's welcomed this fact of this referral to the watchdog. An 18-year-old arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving and a 19-year-old arrested on suspicion of perverting the course of justice. Well, they remain on bail pending further inquiries. What is clear, of course, is there are still so many unanswered questions.
So many, yes. John Hill, thank you very much.
An inquest into the death of a pensioner killed by a woman after she absconded from a mental health unit has heard there is a real risk the same thing could happen again.
74-year-old Roger Leadbeater was stabbed to death by Emma Borrowy while walking his dog in a park in Sheffield in August 2023. Now, she was charged with his murder but died in prison later that year. Helen Steele reports.
Well, the inquest here in Sheffield today has resumed after a break of more than a year for the coroner to gather more evidence. But it was back in August 2023 that 74-year-old Roger Leadbeater was killed as he walked his dog near his home in the Westfield area of the city. He was stabbed 57 times by Emma Borrowy, who'd absconded from a secure mental health unit in Bolton. Well, a previous hearing heard how she'd absconded 8 times in the months leading up to his death. And just days before his death, South Yorkshire Police had found the 32-year-old who was visiting a friend in Sheffield in what they describe as a delusional state and wanting to murder people. But a form documenting this was not handed over to hospital staff, who then granted her further leave. Well, various other instances were recounted today in which both Greater Manchester Police and South Yorkshire Police failed to hand over information, including an attack on her partner with a screwdriver. Well, today both forces admitted they had prepared special handover notes to give to hospital staff, but this had not been implemented. Well, that prompted the coroner to say today that it had been 2.5 years since Roger Leadbeater's death. She told Greater Manchester Police, "I have to say how disappointed I am. Meanwhile, we have vulnerable people being transported by police officers. There is potentially a risk that it could happen again. This concerns me." Well, in response, Chief Superintendent Daniel O'Neill from the force said, "I can only offer my apologies for the delays. It's embarrassing as an organisation, quite frankly." Well, Emma Borrowy herself died in prison while awaiting trial a few months later. The inquest is due to conclude on January the 22nd, but today the coroner told his family that she had a photo of Roger at all times in front of her, and despite what's said in here, he should be front and centre at all times. Helen Steele, ITV News in Sheffield.
Thank you, Helen. Now you're watching Canada. Thanks for your company on tonight's programme. Still to come, could a battery under the stairs be the secret to slashing energy bills?
And I'll have the latest on Storm Goretti and the weather warnings, as this time tomorrow, some rain, sleet and heavy snow will be heading towards us.
Yes, an important forecast coming up. First, though, more news. And a man has been jailed for 14 years after selling poison to a woman in Leeds, which she used to end her own life. 26-year-old Shubhit Singh died after buying the poison from Miles Cross. Cross, who's 33, pleaded guilty to selling the substance to Ms Singh, as well as 3 other people for £100 each. He was sentenced in Wales today.
Cross preyed on his victims online and exploited them in their most desperate moments, profiting off their vulnerability and mental well-being. Instead of assisting them to seek support, he encouraged them to end their lives and provided them with the means to do so, which tragically and needlessly resulted in 2 deaths.
Now, it's the time of year when many of us try to shake off that Christmas overindulgence. So how's your waistband doing, Ian?
No worse than normal. Oh,
really?
Thank you very much. Maybe a little bit stretched.
Little bit
well, more and more people are turning to weight loss injections for help. Doctors are issuing a fresh warning.
Yes, they say that without regular exercise, the jabs just don't shed fat, and they can cause a serious loss of muscle fat too.
Yes, well, the best thing to do is to hide it, isn't it, like this? So how do you get the right balance? Well, Chloe Oliver has been finding out.
Jessu has been documenting her weight loss journey on social media for the last year and recently introduced the medication GLP-1, more commonly known as a weight loss jab.
As someone who has been trying for years, just with the gym alone, it wasn't enough. I mean, before the GLP-1s, I was constantly going to the gym, but I wasn't getting the results that I needed. However, when I started my GLP-1 journey, plus lifting weights, that really accelerated and changed everything. It just made me have confidence in myself.
Dr. Saima Ajaz has over 20 years of clinical experience in metabolic health and says while the drugs are beneficial, they do come with side effects.
So these drugs are very cardioprotective and they are meant for certain class of people where the BMI is high. It shouldn't make you tired. But what is happening, there's more muscle loss, and we know that this is not the direct effect of the drugs itself. There has been a lot of work done in that field. It is because there's decreased appetite, you're not taking the proper nutrients, and because of the tiredness, you're not doing enough exercise. If you guide those people with the right sort of exercise, I think that much of the muscle loss can be prevented.
Personal trainers like James Johnston in Horsforth in Leeds warn it's important to prioritise strength training, especially as weight loss medications can cause fatigue.
The exercises we'd recommend for someone who's on weight loss injections would actually be the same exercises we'd recommend for anyone looking to lose weight. The main difference would be with people on weight loss injections, the weight loss can be quite rapid. Therefore, we would encourage some form of strength training within their training plan to try and reduce the muscle loss.
For Jessu, regularly working out while taking the weight loss jab is an obvious step. She says exercise improves her mood, keeps her strong and helps her maintain her weight loss long term. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Now, keeping the house warm is getting harder and more expensive as the winter freeze sets in. But could the secret to lower bills be a battery under your stairs?
Well, some energy providers are urging the government to invest more in home battery technology, claiming it could slash £250 off your annual spend.
Units soak up cheap power and they'll even keep the tea brewing during a power cut. Nick Smith reports.
With several more weeks of wintry weather ahead and a rise in the energy price cap this January, many homeowners like Ron Meadowcroft from Knaresborough will be keeping a keen eye on the smart meter. But Ron has been trialling a home battery installed by his energy provider, which charges at off-peak hours and activates in peak times, saving him money.
I signed up to do this. They suggested that the cost of electricity would be a little less. and I would have better electrical security. It helps to use surplus energy that they're having to dump during the night. I get it a little bit cheaper. It also nationally helps us to stop being reliant on fuels from other countries.
E.ON has been trialling this battery technology in areas with higher levels of fuel poverty or in places which struggle with power outages.
So we have installed batteries in customers' homes, added a time of use tariff. So we're optimizing and then we give the energy saving back to the customers that have been part of the trial, and we've used around 20 customers in that particular trial. The range of benefits that we have seen in customers' bills is on average £250 per year. But in larger families, so where consumption is higher, actually you can see £400 worth of savings.
Ofgem data has identified approximately 300,000 homes struggling with fuel poverty in Yorkshire, and it's claimed by E.ON that storage batteries installed across those households could save a total of £60 million. Those at the National Energy Action charity say it can be part of a wider solution.
To get people affordably warm homes, there's different routes for it. Some people, it is about insulation. Their homes are so leaky, old, inefficient. You have to get the fabric of the home right before you do other measures. For other people, it's just about financial support for the running costs of the homes. So there's different things of doing it, but certainly to get low carbon heating technology and battery storage in the homes of people who need it the most, who will benefit the most and less likely to be able to afford it, it's a great thing to do.
Energy providers say they are seeking government support in wider installation of storage batteries, and Westminster has detailed it as part of an overall clean power action plan for 2030. So in years to come, they could prove a useful tool in lowering energy bills, especially for those who may need it most. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Sports news for you now, and Leeds United will be aiming to extend their unbeaten run to 8 matches when they travel north to take on Newcastle tonight. Following last night's win for Nottingham Forest over West Ham, a win for Leeds tonight would see them move 11 points clear of the Premier League relegation zone.
I always knew that we were capable to deliver also such a consistency in terms of performances. Nevertheless, it's impressive because as a promoted side, to have 7 unbeaten games on Premier League level, I'm not sure, but haven't checked it anyhow, but I think it's not that often that this has happened. So for that, it's impressive.
Well, after Calendar, it's the ITV Evening News tonight with Mary Nightingale. Here are the headlines.
Coming up on the programme, the United States says its forces have seized a Russia-linked oil tanker, having tracked it across the Atlantic. On social media, the US-European Command said the merchant vessel was seized for violations of US sanctions. Scotland's schools are closed for a third day as Storm Goretti looms. Amber weather warnings are in place across parts of the country for tomorrow. And sheep on a shopping spree in this supermarket in Bavaria. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Mary, thank you. Finally, tonight, it was one of British sport's greatest partnerships, the cocky, flamboyant boxer and his eccentric trainer. And now the story of Sheffield's Prince Naseem Hamed and Brendan Ingle has made it to the big screen.
Yes, Giant, which was filmed in Yorkshire and stars Pierce Brosnan as Brendan and Amir El Masri as Naz, gets its grand premiere in Leicester Square tonight. And we've dispatched our very own version of Barry Norman, Chris Dawkes, along to join the stars on the red carpet. And Chris, I think it's fair to say this is a bit of a different assignment for you tonight.
Yep, certainly is, Ian. Barry Norman, that's one for the kids, isn't it? Yeah, I'm on unfamiliar ground at the moment. Look at this. Who's this? It's Johnny Nelson with us live on calendar.
This fella had me crying last night.
Thank you very much.
Unbelievable footage. I think you did a great job. I was sat there at home with my popcorn, blubbering in front of the TV. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much. That's Johnny Nelson talking about what you can see on ITVX. That's Fight Club, the inside story of the Ingle Gym. But tonight we're here for the premiere of Giant, as you say, a film about Prince Naseem Hamed and his trainer Brendan Ingle. We've had the stars of the show on the red carpet so far. We've got sporting icons as well. We're going to speak to a few of the stars and the Yorkshire-born director in just a second. But first, let's take a look at a bit of the film and also hear from some of those involved and some of those who were privy to all the goings on with Prince Naseem and Brendan Ingle.
I
Are you the Irishman that runs boxing gym? My children, they are having trouble at school.
How did you get that cut on your lip?
See when you got that bent nose.
You're unbelievable.
For anyone growing up in the 1990s, Prince Naseem Hamed was a household name. And now, thanks to a new film released this week, a whole new generation will be introduced to the cocky yet supremely talented boxer from Sheffield and his eccentric Irish-born trainer, Brendan Ingle. Giant tells the true story of Naz's rise from child prodigy to world champion and the deterioration of his relationship with Brendan, who passed away in 2018. Johnny Nelson trained alongside Naz at the Ingle Gym in Winkerbank.
It's not the boxing, it's the story. It's the story and how it's depicted. It's the story and how it's, where it takes you back to. You think, God, I remember that. And you'll laugh. There'll be times when you cry. There'll be times when you're frustrated. There'll be times thinking, oh my God, if only. I'm a bit of a crybaby, emotional crybaby, so I want to see it and just be in it, and I love that.
It's hardly an Adidas commercial.
Amir El Nasri plays the Prince, whereas Brendan is portrayed by Hollywood royalty in Pierce Brosnan.
You climb close enough to the sun, you'll cast the shadow of a giant.
I knew Naz as a member of, the world who loved the world of boxing, so I'd seen him box in Madison Square Garden, but I never knew about Brendan Ingle and the opportunity to play a man like Brendan. And then, of course, as I say, somewhat overwhelming because he was so loved. He was so cherished, both men were, and their relationship is one of the cornerstones of the boxing world.
How would your dad feel that he's being played by James Bond?
Well, there's a story to that. Years ago when Naz was boxing in America, in New York, and just like we're sat now, Brendan was sat here, Naz was sat there, and Naz looked up and went, Brendan, James Bond, and Pierce Brosnan came in behind, and my dad said, oh, aye, looked round, looking like that, he carried on, he went, Brendan, James Bond. He went, where's James Bond? He went, there, Brendan, him there. He goes, that's not James Bond. James Bond's Sean Connery or Roger Moore. And you could see Pierce Brosnan dip. And when Pierce came to the gym, recited that story, he goes, oh yeah, he goes, I can remember that very clearly. My dad would have been, very pleased watching the film. I think he'd have, been happy with him playing him.
Let's tear it up.
Giant goes on general release across the country this Friday.
Who's more important, the trainer or the fighter?
Well, I'm joined now by one of the stars of the show, the man who plays Naz, Amir El Nasri, and also the director, Rowan Atali, as well. Let's speak to you first, Amir. What was it like to play such an iconic figure in Prince Naseem Hamed?
I mean, what an honour. What an honour to fill his boots. Massive boots to fill. And he was a hero of mine growing up. And I actually wanted to be a boxer because of him. But then when my brother told me, you got to think of a ring walk, and how you're going to enter, and I was like, oh, nope, too shy for that. Ironically became an actor. But I'm so excited to be here. He's here as well. He came and saw the film with us at the Red Sea Film Festival, and he loves it. This is going to be his fourth time watching the film, and he's brought his family now with him, which is going to be amazing. Yeah, what an honour. What an honour for him to also, stamp of approval from him, stamp of approval from the Ingle family, stamp of approval from Sylvester Stallone.
Wow.
What more do you want?
Ticks all the boxes.
Yeah.
But you're not from round our part of the world, but you got the Yorkshire accent down to a T.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of practice for that.
A lot of practice.
Can you do some for us now?
A little bit. I mean, maybe we can just talk like that for the rest of the interview. Yeah.
You've got the gig. No wonder you give him the job.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect. Rowan, you're from Barnsley, of course.
I am indeed.
So, big responsibility to get this story right.
It was a huge responsibility to get it right. Look, Naz meant a lot to me growing up. I grew up a few miles from him. Grew up in a mixed race family. We, went through a lot of the same issues, and he was a big inspiration to me and my brothers. So I didn't want to let my younger version myself down. I certainly didn't want to let Naz down. And as I did more research into the film, more into the story, into who Brendan was and who he meant, what he meant to the people of Sheffield, I realised I didn't want to let them down, and I couldn't let the memory of Brendan down. There was there was a 10-ton of weight on my shoulders in a way that I've never felt on anything else that I've done. And that's how it should be. You know, you shouldn't. This is a story about real people, and you shouldn't take it lightly. These are Yorkshire legends, and you know, you've got to take responsibility, right?
And you both did a fantastic job. Really enjoyed the film. I suggest going to see it. Giant. It's in cinemas on Friday. We'll be hearing more from these guys on Calendar as well tomorrow.
Look at you, rubbing shoulders with the stars in London. Thanks very much, Chris.
Yeah, doesn't he look like he's having a good time down
He is
there?
having a good time, meeting all those stars.
Meanwhile, we're up here in the freezing cold weather.
I know, and don't forget, of course, his ITVX documentary about it all as well, too. Yes, here's Nick Miller with the forecast.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, I hope you made it through that very icy start unscathed this morning, but we're not done with the wintry weather yet. Straight to Storm Goretti. This is the picture at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Running this forward into the night, you'll see the centre of this system well to our south, but feeding towards us outbreaks of rain, sleet and some heavy snow in places, with the potential for significant impacts as a result, particularly in areas covered by Met Office. Yellow warning here for snow extended northwards today through the Pennines, 5 to 10 centimetres more on higher routes affecting travel, and an amber warning now through parts of South Yorkshire into the Peak District, Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, where we could see up to 30 centimetres, the best part of a foot of snow. If that were to come off, of course, there'd be significant impacts as a result. Now, it's worth checking the situation before you head out in the morning. Things could deteriorate quite quickly on through tomorrow evening, and to the east of this, you're more likely to see rain rather than snow. That's all to come. Tonight, quiet, frosty, maybe a few icy patches, though nothing as widespread as we had this morning. And much of the day tomorrow during daylight hours is looking dry, though we will see some showers moving in towards the Pennines and Dales and maybe a few flurries, but not amounting to much at this stage. A lighter breeze for a time tomorrow before picking up tomorrow night and around 3 or 4 degrees for your temperature. This is how things develop then quite quickly through the evening. What starts off as rain turning to snow, particularly Pennine and Peak District areas. More likely to see rain further east before all of this will slowly start to fade out during the day on Friday. That's your forecast.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yeah, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, Sunday night. I didn't realise it was coming back again.
Yeah, definitely is. Watch out for it. That's all from us for now. Emma is back at 10:30 and Mary Nightingale is next.
Yes, have a good evening. Thanks for watching. Good night.